think about that pattern in the context of the internet, in particular in the context of creativity on the internet. Because here again, I think we're going to see the same pattern. A technical shock, and then a newfound freedom that's produced by that technical shock. And the question, but right now it's still an open question, but a question is whether that freedom will then disappear. Now I think that this story of creativity in the internet is actually going through three separate phases of awakening. And I want to describe those phases, but we first have to remember that there was a time in America, at least there was a time, when, with respect to our culture, with respect to people's relationship to their culture, we were awake. There was a time before the catatonic state, the couch potato culture that defined the United States when I grew up. There was a time before this catatonic state when people had an active, vibrant relationship to their culture. We need to remember that time. And we remember it, I think, most vividly by referring to an event that happened in 1906 when this man, John Philip Sousa, traveled to this place in the United States Congress to talk about this technology, which he called the, quote, talking machine. John Philip Sousa was not a fan of talking machines. This is what he had to say. These talking machines are going to ruin the artistic development of music in this country. When I was a boy, in front of every house in the summer evenings, you would find young people together singing the songs of the day or the old songs. Today you hear these infernal machines going night and day. We will not have the vocal cord left, Sousa said. The vocal cord will be eliminated by a process of evolution, as was the tale of man when he came from the ape. Now it's this image I want you to focus on. This image of the young people together singing the songs of the day or the old songs. This is a picture of culture. We could call it, using modern computer terminology, a kind of read-write culture. It's a culture where people participate in the creation and the recreation of their culture. In that sense, it's read-write. In that sense, the culture was awakened. Sousa's fear was that we would lose the capacity to engage in this read-write cultural production because of these, quote, infernal machines. They would take it away, displace it, and in its place, we'd have the opposite of read-write culture, what we could call a read-only culture. A culture where creativity is consumed, but the consumer is not a creator. A culture in this sense that's top-down, where the vocal cords of the millions of ordinary people around the world have been lost. Now, as we think of this state, non-wave state, where these vocal cords have been lost, and we look back at the 20th century, at least in what we call the developed world, it's hard not to conclude that John Philip Sousa was right. For never before in the history of culture had its production become as concentrated. Never before had it become as professionalized. Never before had the creativity of the ordinary person been as effectively displaced by these, quote, infernal machines. 20th century was this century where read-write culture, at least in my country, gets displaced by a read-only culture. Thus, is a culture which is awake, put into the catatonic state of the awakening. Now, my view